So this is going to be a tax question, mostly to Senator Whitford. I'm also a member of AMIS, and I would like to thank you guys for your support of the Complex Needs Bill. It's a wonderful bill. It could truly make mental health care in Iowa so much better, and we're very grateful for that. The problem is that it's going to cost a little bit of money, which is kind of a bad word in our state, it seems like. We're worried about funding for this bill. Our entire congressional delegation has been worried about tariffs on aluminum and steel, which has the real possibility of ultimately negatively affecting the economy in Iowa. And we're worried about cutting taxes even more. The Senate already has, and the House is working on it. Do all these problems with the possible economy and lower tax revenues affect your decision to lower taxes?
Well, first of all, we don't have lower tax revenues. We haven't shrunk yet as a state. There are many times where it's not coming in as high as they projected, but we have yet to go backwards as a state. We have not had lower revenues. I want to start by talking about the tax bill a little bit and what it does and why we need it. As many of you know, that U.S. News and World Report came out that said Iowa was #1 overall in the state, or in the country, as far as the best place to live or the best state. And it had rankings for probably 15 different areas: education, healthcare, infrastructure, quality of life, and all those. And we were very, very high in almost all of those that I just mentioned. One that we're not very high on is the economy. We have some really good things going on in our economy. Our unemployment is extremely low, 2.8%. But when you dug into some of those numbers, and there's many other studies like this, I'm just picking this one because it's recent. We're ranked number 46 in business environment in the state of Iowa. Number 46. We're number 45 in entrepreneurship. We're number 38 in capital investment. So our business environment is not very good, and we're not positioned well for growth. And that's really the purpose of this bill. If you look around the country at the states that are growing and the states that are prospering, it is those states with lower or no income tax. We're not trying to take it to no income tax, but we are trying to lower it. It's been 20 years in the state of Iowa since we have looked at reducing income tax. And what has happened since that time is people feel overtaxed, they come to the Capitol, and we carve out little tax breaks or tax exemptions for special interests. And then the people get nothing. And then the next special interest comes down and they get a little carve out. And the next one gets a little carve out. And over 20 years, what we have is a convoluted tax system that isn't set up for the 21st century. And what our tax bill is trying to do is say, let's take a second and think about what our tax code should look like going forward. It does get rid of a lot of the credits. We hear a lot about the credits and how it's the fastest growing part of government and so forth. We do get rid of a lot of those because we're trying to flatten the rate for everybody in this room. If we all have flatter rates, we don't need those credits as much as maybe we used to. And so really this is about Iowa having the 5th highest income tax rate in the entire country. And ours starts at, the highest rate starts at $70,000. There's a lot of states that are higher than us, or of the 4 that are. You don't get to the top bracket until you're at $300,000. In Iowa, if your family income's at $70,000, you're in the top tax bracket, and we're the 5th highest in the country. Our corporate tax rate is the highest in the country. And as we talk about funding priorities and how we can fund state government going forward, if we are not growing as a state, we're going to have a very, very difficult time doing that. If you look at just something like Medicaid. Medicaid 20 years ago took about 8% of our state budget. Today it is 20%. Our schools from K through 12 to community college to regents, that's another 56%. So you're at 76% of our budget in Medicaid and schools. There's a lot of other projects. I see former Senator Noble back here. He's a state trooper. Those are someone, their budgets are getting squeezed because other budgets are ballooning. If we're not growing, we're not going to have the resources to fund government like we want. And so what we're doing in the Senate is trying to put forward a bill that we think will be pro-growth for the state of Iowa. I believe we're positioned better now than we ever have been to grow. And that is because of all the attention that we're getting across the country of how great it is here. You can't open a top 10 list. You know, you see these on Facebook or in a magazine or newspaper. You can't open a top 10 list of the best place to live, the best place to open a business, the best place to start after school, best cost of living. You can't open one without finding Iowa somewhere in that list. People around the country are starting to take notice of what a great thing we have going on here is. But we're still not getting big companies to come here. We're not still getting the growth that we deserve as a state. And so what we're doing in the Senate, and this is a long process. You know, the Senate bill is passed, it's over in the House. We probably won't finish this tax bill until the last day of session, to be honest with you. But this is a long process, having a thorough discussion for the first time in 20 years on the individual side, 30 years on the corporate side, having a discussion about what our tax code should look like. Because for 20 years they didn't have the courage to really talk about it. They just gave those tax breaks to special interests for 20 years. That's not the best way to do government. And so we threw out some ideas. We know that the governor has a different plan. We know the House is working up the governor's plan, and they're going to have some different ideas. But this should be a robust conversation, and it will last the rest of the session, I'm sure. But our goal is to, one, grow the economy, and two, get more money in the pockets of hardworking Iowans, because they will spend it and they will grow the economy. And so we're excited about the tax bill. I know that there are things in here, I see groups in here that may not like certain parts. It's a long process, and we're going to continue to work through it.
There's a lot of things to look at. It won't look the same in the end, and yet it's going to get a good look. We need to be doing something.